Okay. First, hello? Hello? All right, here we go. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. For those of you who are watching, you can place your comments down in the comments, and I will be responding to them later. Well, I want to say hello to everyone. Thank you for joining me. Tonight's event is about drug and alcohol awareness. We're going to be focusing on teens, but I have information for people of all ages. We'll have some focus on the materials and information for teens because that's important, but also because this is National Drug and Alcohol Awareness Week, coordinated by NIDA, which is the National Institute for Drug Addiction, and we're taking part in that, participating with it. I'm Alfred Brock, and this event is sponsored by the Wayne Focus, whose motto is, "Literacy is the key to America's survival." Now, if you're not in the United States or in the Americas, North and South America, or anywhere in the world, okay, you can change that a little bit, and our motto is, literacy is the key to our survival. So let's get to it. The first part of the presentation is about groups that help people with alcohol and addiction problems. Now, please keep in mind that a problem shared is a problem cut in half. In Michigan, there's a group called FAN. It stands for Families Against Narcotics. And there are chapters all over Michigan, one each in North Carolina and New York right now. The organization started when two mothers became aware that their daughters had become addicted to opioids. The organization started when these same two mothers found out that they were in very serious problems. Now, the story for one of these mother-daughter pairs is that the girl was injured in sports and prescribed opioids. After consuming all of the opioids provided, just like it said on the bottle, okay, they got a refill. And at this point, there was an urge for having the opioids, and the pain and the nausea afterwards led somehow to her getting opioids that were not through the medical establishment, okay? So she got other people's prescription drugs, opioids, and the specifics of that is not very important at this point. But what happened was the girl nearly overdosed, and the mother takes her to the emergency room where she's treated terribly. The nurses, the incoming folks and everything treated her just horribly, terribly, as if she were just another addict. And hey, I know that stigma. I remember it from when I was younger. I thought that it had been dealt with already. I thought that was gone, but apparently not. Well, the mother overhears this, and she gets really, really upset, and she and her friend form FAN. There's a longer story to that, but I'm not going to go into that this evening for you. The problem today is widespread among youngsters, young adults, the middle-aged, and elderly. And the problem I'm talking about is the problem of drugs and alcohol. We can also include tobacco in this. We'll talk about that briefly. It happens everywhere, anytime, and to anyone. It's all over the world. It's all over the United States. It's in every state. It's in every city, every town, every village, everywhere. Other groups that assist with this are NARANON. Narcotics Anonymous allows family members to talk to each other and to learn what's going on amongst themselves, and also to identify ways to get assistance to help them with their specific problem. Each of the families, each of the individuals can put that in there, and there's also individuals from NARANON helping them with this and advocating for them. Now, Drug Free All-Stars is another group, and we have two chapters right near me, and these groups are formed of various people that have either had the problem or have experienced it somewhere in their lives, and they work together to stay away from drugs and to help those who are struggling, and to stop people from getting involved in it in the first place, and giving special events and trainings. I was going to show you my Narcan training. Hey, I got it right here. I'm going to get my Narcan training bit. Right. So they give out Narcan. Here's your opioid overdose kit. There's a little phone number on here. And this is from the Detroit Wayne Health Authority, Mental Health Authority. And that's changed up a little bit. But this is what the kit looks like. Let's take a look inside. We're going to pop it open. Let's say there's somebody here. I'm not going to do a demonstration. I'm just going to show you inside. But what would happen is someone was overdosing. You'd go in here, get your nasal spray, and follow the instructions right here on the inside of the lid. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is, of course, this is very important. Many pharmacies will let you have them for free. You might have to fill out a form or something, or they're reasonably priced right now. You can order them from various locations. You could go to trainings that are put on by groups like Drug-Free All-Stars, and you get one for free. You do need to update them every once in a while to ensure that they're fresh. And what happens with Narcan, you put it in someone who's overdosing on opioids, and it stops the asphyxia that's going on, because they're choking, their lungs are not operating properly, the heart's slowing down, and it stops that so that you can get them care. Now, if you're going to do that, you see somebody overdosing, the first thing we don't do is, this is not the first thing. The first thing we do is 911, 911, 911, 911, 911. First call 911 if you see someone overdosing or having a problem with any of the drugs. Narcan works with opioids and not the other drugs. Now, and it doesn't save their lives. It just stops it for like 15 minutes or so, enough time to get the emergency crew there and take over. And there'll be normally two doses in the kits in the event that the first one wears off and you have to give another one. So it's a mistake if the person is revived and then they leave the area with the emergency personnel on the way, because they could just get across the street and collapse and it starts all over again. Now you don't know where they are. My point here about these groups, FAN, Nar-Anon, Drug-Free All-Stars, and the many other fabulous groups like the Michigan Alliance, is that if you're looking for support, if you're struggling right now, if you are involved with someone who's struggling, your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, friend, cousin, or relative, or your children, or your parents, there are groups all over the place that you can approach to gain support. And if you don't like one, go to another, okay? But having support is extremely, extremely important while this goes on. It can be very lonely. The stigma is still strong. That doesn't mean you can't talk about it, but sometimes when you do talk about it, people will take it the wrong way. They don't understand it. This is outside their normal understanding. And it's even worse when someone encounters this and it's outside the normal understanding, and it can challenge everything that a person has thought and has felt in the past, and it's very distressing just from that point of view, not to mention the fact that your loved one may be in imminent danger from the drugs. So one thing about communications today, this communication one that we're having right now, is that we can reach out so easily. You can reach out and people can reach back. And that's what's important. You get the information you need, so you can meet people locally too. And you can do that through meetings like this, or online meetings, or online chat groups, or Facebook pages and groups. So it's really, really good stuff. Now, let's talk about the problem for a bit. We'll concentrate on opioids just a little and follow up with methamphetamines, cocaine, alcohol, and others, because there are many, many, many of them, and it's very distressing. Now, opioids is unique in this case because, as you know, opioids are deadly poisons. This has been known for a very long time. It was recognized early in the United States, if we just use our own history, just like 200 or more years, that it was recognized that they were poisons and they were prescribed, if at all, only for acute pain or towards death. Not even towards death often, but for acute pain, like someone lost a limb or there was some sort of operation that was going to go on. And they weren't always used successfully either. So later on, other forms of it were invented. Now, during the Civil War, doctors did not want to prescribe opioids to wounded soldiers because they knew it caused addiction. I'm going to get to a point here. This history lesson has something very important in it that's going to be, I think, perhaps shocking to some of you. It was shocking to me. Now, they were reluctant, and they didn't do it. They would not give them the opioids because they believed that if they gave them the opioids for the pain, that after they, for their wound, that after they left and got out of there and healed and everything, they'd still be addicted to the opioids, and that's a slow death. So they wouldn't do it. Now, their reluctance was overcome by orders, but primarily by a report that they were all given that assured doctors that if opioids were given because of extreme pain, the patient would not become addicted. Now, if we think about it, or it may occur to you immediately that doesn't make any sense. It's not even saying it doesn't make much sense. It doesn't make any sense. But in wartime, the idea caught on, and there it went. And then after the war, opioids fell out of favor again as the number of addicted soldiers and others rose. They could see the result of what they did. They gave the opioids to them. Well, they got addicted, and they continually take it until their death, or it causes their life a problem. And that's what happened way back when, right? It's 1860s into the 1880s. After the war, opioids fell out of favor again. They knew what had happened, the doctors, and the doctors returned to not prescribing opioids. And this stayed in that case all the way through even the 2 world wars, where they were used again in extreme pain issues, but not trying to not use them over a long period of time. Now, it was during the later part of the 20th century, not long ago, that someone found that original report and worked it around a little bit, and it appeared in a respected medical journal and spread from there. Now they were saying, oh, there's a different reason why they're not going to get addicted if they take opioids. And then we're going to talk about why that happens, and then we're going to move into the other drugs, I assure you. Now, followed up by an intense marketing campaign, opioid manufacturers got laws changed, rules dropped, changed or ignored, started selling opioids wholesale to doctors and hospitals, and that started this most recent deadly epidemic. It's unique in this case because it's got a strong industry base. Now, advertising is also the reason that alcohol and tobacco did so well for so long, and alcohol still does in the United States. Tobacco is spreading around the world because it's not been because it's fallen out of favor with many people, but its use is rising in countries around the world where rules and laws about advertising about it don't exist as they do in the United States. It's a very deadly agricultural export. Alcohol also retains its luster, and not only because there is a long history of drinking in the United States. The advertising surrounding alcohol makes it seem glamorous and something that adults do, and it's painted with a brush of freedom and perfect leisure. Go to the baseball game, eat a hot dog, drink some beer. I could get the hot dog thing, but why do you need to do that? Well, I don't know. As for leisure, it doesn't quite fit there. Anyone who's attended an open bar party or sports event knows that leisure is the last thing that's going on. As manufactured opioids spread, going back to the opioids for a moment, they pushed heroin out of the market for a while. We all know about heroin. It's in all the movies. It's horrible. Panic in Needle Park and all that stuff. It was pushed out of the market for a while, pushed down. It's still around, but not as popular as it once was. Pills, powders, and liquids normally used in surgery for advanced cancer, pain, and approaching death, as well as some veterinary uses, are now available on the street, and they are sold right out of the pill bottle that may have been diverted from the normal manufactured flow or has been made artificially. The artificial material has been made artificially, outside of the normal manufacturing line, the commercial line. Along with them come derivatives that are far stronger and are also available in every city and state in the country and around the world. The same or closely related organizations that distribute the opioids, distribute the methamphetamines, they distribute the cocaine, they distribute the illegal marijuana, they distribute other drugs. And this loose affiliation is very dangerous. We can see from the violence that we see in other countries like in Mexico that it is very, very dangerous. Now, drug dealers have even taken to mixing them together. They mix the drugs together. Fentanyl is a powerful opioid. The dealers mix it with cocaine, methamphetamines, and other drugs they believe They believe in order to entice users back to them because they're addicted. Well, in real life, that approach doesn't work. And many people are disabled or killed by this practice. More than 100,000 last year from drug overdose. Something that should be kept in mind, I feel, about all dealers and distributors of their drugs is that many of them, they don't know what they're selling. They don't know what they're selling. They have no idea what's in the bags, vials, and pouches they are peddling. Some of them add things into it. They don't know other things have been added beforehand. It gets out of hand, to say the least. They're often unaware of the fact that they're disabling and killing people. They don't realize that they're drugging people into a state that can lead them into murder, rape, robbery, and other mayhem. They don't count the cost of the person's family, their spouses, mommy or daddy, aunts, uncles, friends, neighbors, everybody. This sort of activity blights neighborhoods. Grief from the disabling of a healthy person or their death is powerful and affects the entire community. In any city, town, or village, it is clear that if one segment of the population is struggling, then everyone is. That's just a fact. Let's take a break from this depiction, because we've gone into a lot of things, talking about how it is, what it is. You may not know that, but there's a lot of background here. Let's get in and see what can be done. Let's say you have a friend or relative who's using drugs right now. Do you know what kind? You can ask. If they don't tell you, so what? At least you asked them. At least you tried. Long-term positive support can help reach a person. They become more and more isolated from their longtime acquaintances, friends, and even family. Contact from non-users in their life can help slow their demise. Allow me to clear one thing up. There's no such thing as rock bottom. Doesn't exist. It's important to try and get someone away from misuse of drugs and overuse of alcohol as soon as it is noticed. Long-term use leads to disease and problems. If you have someone now who's having trouble, what can you do? Oh, here we go. If you think they're dying right then or having a medical emergency, of course, call 911. Just had to mention that. If you don't know what to do about the problem, whether it's threatening suicide or using or dealing, whatever, you can reach out. You can reach out to many groups, as I mentioned earlier. Now, initially, this is also for people that are suffering right now or their friends and families. They can go to the crisis text line. Anyone can do it. If you've got a problem in your family right now, you can do it right now. You can pause me and go do it right now, because a person can just text the words the letters HOME, home, capital H, capital O, capital M, to 741-741. That's HOME, all capital letters, to 741-741. And you'll be connected with a crisis counselor right now. You can start talking back and forth, and they'll give you more ways to connect and information that you need. They'll give you information that you can use right then, and also give you the ability to bridge out from there. So that's a good way to get started. If your city or area supports 211, you can call there on your phone or learn about support and relief. This is a big deal. You don't have to do this alone. There are many things set up and available for you. 211, you can get on your phone and learn about support and relief. Nationally, there is on the internet, findtreatment.gov. Findtreatment.gov. That's find treatment, all one word, and .gov. Their phone number is 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357. 1-800-662-4357. So now you have immediate contact information for you to get help. Now let's take a look at the drug problem again. Opioids affect everyone who takes them. If a human being is prescribed opioids for 15 to 30 days and they take them regularly at appointed times, their bodies will become dependent. That's what happens to every human body that takes this stuff in for that period of time. And one thing about many people, especially Americans, is that if the doctor says take these and the bottle says take one every day as needed, they will dutifully finish the bottle. That's what happens. Does everyone get addicted? No, not right away, not like the young lady that we spoke about in the beginning, but everyone who takes them over a relatively short period of time will find their body becomes dependent, and there could be aches and pains when the pills are stopped. That's the dependency, feeling that, the chemical change that had begun. Now this causes many people to ask for refills, just like the young lady. No matter what, from 30 to 60 to 90 days, if someone is taking opioids regularly in that manner, their body will become addicted. That's just what's going to happen. It may be seriously addicted or lightly addicted, but there will be aches and pains, and it'll feel strange, and they may actually believe that the pain hasn't gone away. Opioids cause physical and psychological changes which can be halted or in some cases reversed if the user stops taking the drugs. The problem is that then their tolerance drops back, and if they go back to it, especially if they had taken it for a while, and try to ingest the same amount they were using, it could instantaneously kill them. This happens often with drug-addicted inmates let out of jail who return to the streets or to the drug and meet their demise. Opioids are physically addicting. Alcohol and tobacco are also physically addicting. Now, cocaine is slightly physically addicting, as are methamphetamines, but both cocaine and methamphetamines come with a high social addiction, a high psychological addiction. It is the society in which the drugs are consumed that causes the further increased use. Their vocabulary changes, the way they interact with one another changes, their social circle shrinks. I can't call them friends, but their social circle shrinks, and it becomes very hard for a person to extricate themselves from that. Shunning doesn't help. If teens are exposed to this use, if they are exposed to individuals or groups that think using drugs or alcohol or smoking is okay, they will then also be inclined to use them. Often it's called normal experimentation, but it's not normal to experiment with powerful drugs that are already known to be harmful, sometimes immediately. It's like experimenting with a sharp knife or drinking liquid bleach, no matter what. The first short-term effects may feel like using these drugs is not normal. It's not normal in any way. No experimentation. Drinking excessively is also a problem. Now, NIDA for Teens is a great resource for teens. It's a great source for everybody. You can find it at https://. It's going to be teens.drugabuse.gov, teens.drugabuse.com. You'll find many useful things there. If someone is using any of the drugs mentioned here, something else that is serious can happen. These drugs can mask or hide mental illness. That's not good because the underlying mental illness cannot be treated and it can get worse. Not only that, but these drugs can mimic mental illness. Then what can happen is a person could go for treatment for some mental illness while all along the symptoms are caused by the drugs. Last but not least, not only can these drugs mimic mental illness, they can cause mental illness. Not only because of the drugs themselves, but because of the social interactions, which can be violent, unpleasant, and horrible, that come along with seeking out the drugs, using the drugs, and ultimately suffering from them. Often I hear, what can I do? I'm at my wit's end. I don't know what to do. Tell me what can I do? I don't know. I don't know the exact predicament the person is in at that time. If they're an addict, I don't know their history or what they're using. If they're family or friends, I don't know who the other person is or the circumstances of everything. With alcoholics, because alcohol is a drug, these things are the same. So I suggest something. I suggest the person suffering or the people involved around them go to see a social worker. Go talk to a social worker. In most of the U.S. and Australia and England and many other countries, you can find a social worker. They're trained in providing answers to these questions in crisis. And if not they are the ones who can respond. They can get you the help, the social workers. They can provide reasonably priced and sometimes free assistance, and there's a lot of support out there. It's important to know how to access it. You're not alone. You're never alone. To find one, you can just Google the phrase, how to find a social worker. My particularly favorite one is www.helpstartshere.org. Get the rest of this /page ID = 3677. Just would go helpstartshere.org. Just go right there and you can find yourself a social worker. The problems that drugs and alcohol present are very serious and can be far-reaching. Often the people using the materials does not want to or feels that they can stop. Keep in mind whether you're presently suffering with these substances or have a loved one who is, and you're trying to help someone avoid these dangerous problems, that the people selling these products are liars. They lie directly to their customers. They lie many, many times directly to themselves. Ignorance is no excuse for what they're doing. To understand the depth of the deception, you need look no further than the tobacco industry. The Native Americans told Sir Walter Raleigh that tobacco was harmful and should be used sparingly, if at all. Queen Elizabeth found out about this and told Sir Walter Raleigh not to bring any back. Don't bring it back to England, she told him. Well, he did it anyway, and she had his head chopped off. But that didn't stop what he had started, and we can see the result of that all the way up until today. The manufacturers of tobacco, they knew from their evidence that it caused cancer, emphysema, heart, and other lung diseases, but they hid it. They hid it to make money. The dealers today are no different. A lot of these drugs are coming from international organizations and companies shipping materials around the world. Precursors, that is chemicals used to make synthetic opioids, originate in the People's Republic of China, India, and other nations around the world. Even in the United States, they're made here if you can get your hands on them. Now, Wuhan, center of the COVID pandemic, was the center of production for these precursors and for opioids themselves until they grudgingly agreed not to ship it anymore, but still the chemicals continue to be shipped. You can get them through the mail right now. In the case of the U.S., chemicals to make opioids and methamphetamines are sent to Canada and Mexico, and then they're either used in those countries to make the drugs or smuggled into the United States separately, where then they're made and distributed. The result is that these and other drugs are available in every city, town, and village across the countryside of the United States. Al-Anon and Al-Anon for Teens are good places to go for families and friends to learn about what is happening and what they can do to help about alcohol. Al-Anon can be found at anon.org. That's al-anon.org. There are local meetings and lots of online meetings. Nar-Anon is a good source of information about narcotics and all sorts of drugs. You will meet kind, interesting, and helpful people, whether in person or online, and that's nar-anon.org. nar-anon.org. Now, these organizations are not just for these organizations that I'm telling you about right now. They're for families and friends to learn about what's going on with their loved ones, what they can do, and you'll have that support that's necessary and needed. Again, if it doesn't work out in those particular groups, move on to another one. You need the support, get the support. The problem is being caused by a very well-financed, large, internationally active, violent, and very sophisticated set of organizations. I want to thank you for listening this evening, and please let me know if I can help you in any way. Just email them to me. You can send me questions. I went on a little longer than I expected this evening. Feel free to visit my YouTube channel. Right now it's called Alfred Brock. Go to YouTube, search for Alfred Brock, and you'll find a variety of items there about many different types of drugs, like what is ketamine, what are methamphetamines, what are opioids, the dangers of prescription drugs, the dangers of drugs for teens, and lots more for people of all ages. Thank you for joining me this evening, and I do truly hope that everything works out for you, and that you have a positive ending to whatever difficulty you're approaching. And if you're not, hey, just jump right in and help, because there's lots of things to do. Lots of people need your help. Thank you very much.